And I'm like, yo, what's happening here? And then I step back and I look and I'm like, oh, here you have a guy who's accustomed to getting all the attention, right? Which he still gets. He gets a lot of views. It's like, oh, you have a guy who is accustomed to getting all the attention for speaking on certain topics, and he has a habit in a lot of his videos of saying like he does it. Excuse me, nobody else does it the way that he does it. He he's the only one out here with his size platform that calls out people the way he calls them out, which very well may be true, but to an extent, because there are many people who raise awareness on a lot of topics. So you don't really quite understand what he means when he's saying he's the only one out here that's doing it like this. But when you step back and you look, you're like, oh, here you have a man who is accustomed to getting a lot of attention for being quote unquote the only one according to him. And then here comes this other guy, Kwame Brown, who's doing the same thing now but has a large following. And Hassan has meticulously found a way to insert himself in one way or the other in Kwame Brown's life or the Kwame Brown story. So now people can talk about and it's brought attention to his channel. And it's like, I get that people got their ways of quote unquote marketing. This isn't marketing for her son. This is he's jealous of Kwame Brown, and it's disappointing because it's like, bro, you are literally doing what you have spoke out against in a ton of your videos, man. Very disappointing.
Oh yeah, Diddy got a podcast.
All right, man. Listen. First of all, let me say, if you're new to the podcast, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. If this is, I don't know if I'll make this audio episode, but if I do, please subscribe to the podcast if you want one of the listening platforms. I'm trying to get straight into it. I don't think I've ever done this before where I have immediately saw something and immediately jumped on to record right after seeing it. I normally, because I don't like to be a person who goes off logic and logic alone. I'm sorry, I don't like to be a person who goes off emotion and only emotion. I like to have logic and have time to think and and go through the process of getting all the facts together, which I think anybody should do. But this right here, I think I'll be safe. I want to speak on something that's so irritating. I don't think you'll ever see the video. And this video isn't going to be solely about him. I'll mostly talk about him, but the video isn't just solely about him. It's just about us as a people, as so-called black people. I think human beings are like this, but I want to talk specifically to so-called black people because we are like this and it's so irritating. There's a guy named Hassan Campbell. He's a very popular YouTuber, right? He has like 357,000 subscribers. Like, you have access to a lot of ears. You know what I mean? To a lot of minds, man. And I found out about this guy about, I don't know, maybe this is probably about a year and a half ago, man. I forget, I think his videos popped up as like a suggested video on YouTube or something. And it was a video on Cardi B. And anybody who's close enough to me or who knows me well enough knows that I'm not a big fan of how women are portrayed in hip hop, as far as like they're always half naked and they're twerking and they're showing off body parts, and everything got to be about like it's just like making us look like animals and over sexualizing us, even if that's a word, I don't know. But anyways, I've always been vocal about this. I stand my ground. I've been consistent about it. So I ran across this guy video and I was like, oh snap. Like, I knew there were other people out there that felt that way, but it's different to have somebody that feels that way and somebody that feels that way who have access or who has access to a lot of people, to a lot of minds, to a lot of ears. You know what I mean? So when I saw this video, this dude touched it. I believe, like I said, I may have saw it like a year and a half ago. The video was pretty like I think a few months old when it had been out a few months by the time I had saw it. But anyways, he made a video about how I think Cardi B was selected as like woman of the year or something, or role model of the something. I think it was woman of the year on some magazine cover, which I remember. I don't follow Cardi B very much. If really, I don't follow her at all. I do like some of her music. She has some catchy songs. I think she can rap a little bit. I think she has some skills. But I'm trying not to digress too much because I have so much going through my head right now. So he made a video about her, about how, how in the world that a woman that makes music about certain things and she stands for certain things, how did somebody like this become woman of the year when you have people out here like Michelle Obama and other, you can think of a lot of different women who probably who are doing great things in the community, and that could have been selected for that position, but they choose people like that. And he was kind of like talking about how the industry works, and you have to keep your eyes and your ears open, and stay 10 toes down and try to educate your children, and just know that this game is run by demonic energy and things like this. Like, I'm not trying to digress, but anyways, I remember seeing this guy's videos and I was like, yo, and I believe like maybe 500,000 people had saw the video. It was great. I go to this guy's channel. He has several other videos where he's calling out a lot of other men and a lot of other just celebrities about like how they do things and the gun violence in the black community and how we should do this and start businesses. And it was great. And it's like, oh, this is dope, bro. And he's consistent with it. And when I say he calls people out, he calls them out. He don't sugarcoat things. He don't hold back. He calls them out, and I stand for that. I'm with it. I've been following his channel ever since then. He has been consistent about the George Floyd thing. He's been consistent. I should say I should have noticed something. I noticed something. I did notice something about maybe eight months ago or so, give or take. He made a video about this guy named Mysone. And for those of you who don't know who Mysone is, he's a close affiliate to this woman named Tamika Mallory. That name should ring because she's a very popular lady. She I don't know if she's like necessarily under Black Lives Matter, but I know she is like Black Lives Matter affiliate. Like she's all for the protesting, and she goes out here and she's like, standing whenever a so-called, black person, innocent so-called black person is killed, she goes out and she has these speeches and stuff. So she's very popular for that, right? People have mixed feelings about her, and people have mixed feelings about, if protesting actually leads to change, but that's a different topic. Anyways, Hassan would make videos about Mysone, who is just like Tamika Mallory. He speaks out and calls out, police officers who kill so-called innocent black people, and he stands for us. And he talk about how, he brings up slavery, and he brings up all these things about how we need to come together and work together, and this, that, and the third. Mysone has been doing this for a while himself. And Hassan would come out and make a video calling out Mysone or something, and it would always seem weird and personal. I'm like, yo, this is personal. And then finally Hassan would come out and say how finally he came out and mentioned how Mysone and him know each other. They're both from New York apparently, and they have history, and they had a falling out or something. I'm like, oh, see, I was right. Like, it sounded personal because I'm like, this is another man who's speaking on like kind of the same things you speaking on. Like, he's rooting for our people, but it's like you calling him out every time you make a video about him or Tamika Mallory. With some of the points, he raised some great points. Hassan did about how Tamika Mallory and Hassan seem to kind of go after the bunny. Like they go to these protests and pretend like they are for the people, which I don't know if they're pretending or not, but they pretend like they're for the people. But then all of a sudden, they're really getting paid to go out there, and then they dip, and they're not really talking to the parents of these people who were killed. I think it was Mike Brown or somebody's mom, of one of these so-called black men that was killed. The mother of one of those men came out and said how Tamika Mallory don't even know her, and she came out and because Tamika Mallory spoke on her or something. Anyways, I'm digressing. It's really hard not to digress. I'm gonna get to the point of the video. All of this is important, but I'm trying not to digress too much. Hassan Campbell would do that, and it was always confusing to me. All right, cool. I didn't think too much into it. And then, like, I believe it was like maybe 2 weeks ago, I was watching one of Hassan's videos, and I forget what he was talking about. Maybe a shooting that happened. I think a little girl or something was killed or something like that. And the video was about that. But within the video, he mentioned something about, and he kind of took a break from speaking on the little girl being killed and how there needs to be justice for this little girl. And he just really fast kind of slid in there and said, don't compare me to no NBA player. What they talk about and what I talk about are two separate things. I'm different. And then he like kind of got back into the story, and that was kind of confusing because I was like, don't compare him to no NBA player. And he never said a name. And I remember when he said it, I thought to myself, bro, could this dude be talking about? I mean, who else could he be talking about? So then I was like, that's who he was talking about. That was weird. I don't know why you thought it was important to say that. In the back of my mind, I was thinking, like, I've never seen anywhere in your comments or anywhere under that NBA player's comments anybody comparing the two of you. Like, I don't know why he said that. Now, granted, there is hundreds and hundreds, sometimes thousands of comments. Like I say, Hassan has a large following. So there are sometimes thousands of comments under his videos. But nonetheless, like, I've never seen no NBA player name mentioned, no comparisons being mentioned in any of the comments. So that didn't make any sense to me. Excuse me. So here I am sitting at the house today, which inspired me to make this video. I am so hot right now. I'm so hot right now. What inspired me to make this video was I'm sitting at the house right now, and I remember maybe I think like 6 days ago, so it hasn't even been a full week. Hassan comes out, and he drops a video, and the title of the video says, "Don't compare me to no NBA player." Now, before, he just mentioned it within a video that was about something completely separate. This time, he made a video entirely entitled to this one topic, talking about don't compare me to no NBA player. Now, within this video, which, by the way, the video he made wasn't even him sitting in his normal spot, which is, I believe, is somewhere in his house. That's where he normally shoots his videos. The video he shot this particular time was him somewhere outside, like in an alley or in a backyard somewhere. I couldn't tell where he was, but it was nighttime. He was outside. It was a little unorthodox how he normally does his videos. And he's like holding the camera up. And I was like, when the video first dropped like 6 days ago, I said I wasn't going to watch it. I was like, I don't understand why that's even important for you to make a video. I mean, he's free to make a video about whatever he wants, obviously. But I didn't understand why that was important. It was just like so different from any of his other videos, which are normally about important topics. Don't compare me to no NBA player. And I didn't click on it until I saw, and I'm purposely not saying the name of the NBA player right now for a reason. So I didn't watch the video, and what made me eventually go and watch the video was earlier today or yesterday, I believe, this NBA player, very shortly, he didn't speak very much on it, but on his channel, he kind of spoke on Hassan's video that was entitled, "Don't Compare Me to No NBA Player." And this what made me, I was like, oh, when I listened to what the NBA player had to say, because I do follow his channel, I went back to Hassan's channel. I said, I'll go ahead and watch this video. So I go to this video, "Don't Compare Me to No NBA Player," and it's Hassan talking about, he starts the video off talking about how the NBA player he was talking about was, while that NBA player was in the NBA and playing against Michael Jordan or playing with Michael Jordan, he was on Rikers Island. And for those of you who don't know, Rikers Island is a prison in New York City, based out of, like, on Staten Island or something. It's up there in NYC. So he was like, while this guy, NBA player, was in the NBA, I was on Rikers Island, and I was dealing with inmates who was walking up to me asking me what size shoes I wear and what size clothes I wear. And when a guy walks up to you and say something like that, it's go time, because that means that they want your clothes and they telling you to run that. And either you stood 10 toes down, you stood tall and stood your ground and fought back, or you kind of whimpered down and gave him your shoes and your clothes. And I'm listening to him because I've been following his channel for a while, and I'm trying to understand his angle here. And he continues to talk. He's like, yeah, so while this NBA player was looking up to people like Michael Jordan, I was looking up to people like Big Meech. Yeah, Big Meech. So I'm waiting for him at some point to say something like, I looked up to people like Big Meech, even though I shouldn't have. or something like that. But he never said that. He was just like, I looked up to people like Big Meech. That's who I wanted to be like. I wanted to be like these people. And he started naming like other people who weren't so famous. And for those of you who don't know, which it will be very surprising because he's very infamous. But for those of you who don't know who Big Meech is, Big Meech is a very notorious drug dealer. I believe he was based out of ATL, and he was, he was a multi millionaire. And he's notorious for like buying his entire, drug crew Lamborghinis and Rolls Royces, and they had private jets and mansions and all these sort, and it was very flamboyant and like braggadocious, and they went to the club and spent like crazy amounts. I think he has rumors, it's stories I hear where he's went and spent $500,000 in one night in clubs. Like, he's known for doing things like that. So anyways, Hassan is talking about this is who he looked up to, and these are the people he wanted to be like. So don't compare him to no NBA player. Now, the reason why Hassan keeps saying don't compare him to no NBA player is because this NBA player has a large following and talks about important topics in the community. And so does Hassan. He has a large following and he talks about important things in the community. Now, the NBA player he's talking about is a guy named Kwame Brown. I am so hot, man. Kwame Brown. Now, for those of you who don't know, which I would be very surprised if you didn't know, because even if you don't follow sports, this man has been the topic of conversation for probably the last month or so. Like, he's been the topic of conversation, not just in the sports world, but just in media, just in like in everyday, like, social concerns and things like that. Like, he's been like a huge topic. Like, even if you don't know what I'm talking about, I guarantee you probably heard Kwame's name at least once in the last month or so. Anyways, I believe it was about a month ago, Kwame Brown, who is a former NBA player, he's not like the most popular guy. He's known for being mentioned on ESPN all the time for being a bust. So basically, he was a number one overall pick. He did not live up to expectations or did not live up to quote unquote hype. And Stephen A. Smith, who is a sports analyst or commentator, has spent the last decade always using Kwame Brown as a reference as to the standard as to what a bust is. Like a very sorry, very bad NBA player, right? And Kwame Brown has spent years and never said anything. Well, recently, about a month ago, Kwame Brown eventually came out, called Stephen A. out for always picking on him, and the video goes viral, right? And he was calling out many other people in media for mentioning his name and calling him a bust, even though he was making points like, how is he a bust when he went from living in poverty to getting drafted number one overall, and within his short NBA or his NBA career, I think he may have played 8 to 10 years or something. How is he a bust when he for one managed to stay in the NBA that long? He couldn't have been that sorry. For two, he gross made like more than $60 million in his NBA career. He's like, how am I a bust? I bought my mama a house and I got my mama out of poverty. I made $60 million in my career and I was able to move my family out of poverty. How am I a bust? By those standards, I'm a winner in life. Anyways, he goes viral. Hassan Campbell makes a video today. Crazy. Hassan Campbell makes a video today saying, so for the first time ever, he puts Kwame Brown's name in the video. He's like, Kwame Brown, let me talk to you respectfully. And he's not very respectful in the video. And it's very confusing. I started watching the video and I'm like, oh, son, what are you doing, bro? This is like very hypocritical. And this is why I wanted to make this video. This is why you don't put human beings on pedestals. This right here is why you don't hold people. You don't become fans of people. If anything, you become fans of what people do. If anything, you become you're never supposed to be a fan of another human being. Be a fan of the Most High. Be a fan of God. You don't become fans of other human beings. You know why? Because they're humans and they can mess up and they are imperfect just like you are. Because you're not going to agree on everything with another person. It's impossible. You're not going to agree on every single thing with any other human being. It's impossible. You two are going to disagree on something. Even if it's something small, you're going to disagree on something. This is so frustrating to me because he makes the video. He's like, yeah, Kwame Brown, let me call you out real fast, man. Um, you know, let me just say I wasn't uplifting drug dealers and the life of crime. Yes, you were, Hassan, bro. I watched the video. This is what I'm talking about. Like you've made like 300 videos calling out people, calling out these rappers who entice these kids, these young kids to use guns and do drugs and all these great things you've talked about. And then you come out in the next video like borderline seeming like you are embracing the gang culture, and it's very confusing. It's like, what are you talking about? So the video Hassan came out and made when he said, "Don't compare me to no NBA player," Hassan literally starts off the video talking about the people he looked up to. Yes, that doesn't mean he still looks up to them, but if you listen to the video, he's literally praising these people. He was currently praising these people. And I'm like, I saw this coming a mile away. Because when he mentioned Hassan, when he mentioned Kwame Brown's name before, I was thinking to myself, nobody compared the two of you. And then I was going through the comments of the video he put out today, where he was calling Kwame out. I was like, this makes no sense. Since Kwame Brown has went viral in the last month, and when I say viral, I'm talking about this man literally went from like 60,000 subscribers, if not less than that. He went from like 60,000 subscribers to he's at almost 400,000 subscribers right now. That's like unheard of. Like he's unheard of. He's like gained like 350,000, 300,000 plus subscribers in like the last 3.5 weeks. That's like unheard of. So what he's done is he's taken this moment where he's went viral, and Kwame Brown talks about a lot of important topics, like how the media is. He doesn't talk about sports, rarely ever. He talks about what they show us in the media and how they try to feminize everything and how they try to emasculate everything. I listen to this man. I'm like, yo, this is a very intelligent man. This is a very fearless man. He doesn't care. He talks about he has a lot of unpopular opinions, or I should say a lot of unpopular opinions with people with large followings. A lot of times you see people who bring rap artists on or bring celebrity and actors on and don't ask them real questions. Don't ask them the tough questions. So when you have people who have these large followings who talk about the real deal, it's dope to see that, and it's refreshing. And that's what Hassan has been since I've been listening to him. So for him to randomly come out and just say like, Kwame Brown, let me talk to you, and he's like completely disrespecting Kwame Brown, it was like, yo, I see what's happening here. This is what happened. And I'm going to read somebody else's comment under Hassan's video today that was like, oh, snap, I don't have to say anything. He said it for me. Somebody hopped under Hassan's video and said, Hassan, what have you done for the community? Because one of the things that Hassan said about Kwame Brown was that Kwame Brown is a lot like Colin Kaepernick, because he is talking about on a lot of things about the black community, but nobody has ever seen him in the community. Nobody has ever seen him actually doing anything to help real change. And I'm like, I'm so confused why you're calling out Kwame Brown right now, bro. I'm trying to understand what I'm looking at right here. You have a man in Kwame Brown who makes a lot of videos about how we should be raising our sons to be men, how we should not be letting our sons, get brainwashed by all these videos about gun violence and you doing drugs and, living life of crime and all the things he talks about. Like it's amazing. Like this dude is very highly intellectual. Kwame Brown. You have a man who talks about all these problems in the black community. Hassan, another so-called black man who talks about all these problems in the black community. And you calling out Kwame Brown? What are you talking about, bro? So when I was listening to him, I was like trying not to think what the obvious was. And then I saw this comment and I was like, wow, there it is right there. This person said, Hassan, what have you done for the community? Hassan, you do care. If not, you wouldn't have asked. You're doing entirely too much, Hassan. What do you do for the hood? Another thing, the same massa that signs Kwame Brown checks is the same one that signs yours as well. Fall back, Hassan. You tried to drag that man. You had this stuff planned out. You spoke on him. He responded just as you knew he would. From the gate, no one compared y'all. You made it up just so you can get this off your chest. Truth is, you're low-key hating. As you said, Kwame's come up was him responding to Stephen A. Smith, a couple of NBA players, that being Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes. Okay, Kwame played right into your hand. You sent for him and he came. Now you get to become a raging bull. How many more views for this one? That was so perfectly said. Because I watched this, I said, yo, Hassan's jealous. Hassan is jealous of Kwame Brown. You have a man who had virtually, like, which for me, like with my small channel, 80,000 subscribers is dope. But for an NBA player or for a celebrity or a famous person, that's not a whole lot. You have a man who went from virtually like 60, 50,000 subscribers to well over 375,000 subscribers. He's working on 400,000 subscribers right now. You have a man who has that many followers speaking on the same topics you speak on for the most part. And by the same topics, I mean, like, they don't talk about the same people per se, but they talk about the same problems in the Black community. I'm telling you, bro, anybody with a conscience in the last month, I guarantee you, has scrolled past something about Kwame Brown. He's went that viral. Like I say, this man has gained like more than 300,000 subscribers in the last month. That's like unheard of. I don't know if anybody's ever done that before. That's like crazy. Hassan is jealous, bro. He's envious. You have another man, another so-called Black man who talks about, and I mean, like, he talks about it very well. Kwame Brown has had celebrities such as Judge Joe Brown, and he's had like other people. He's had Tasha K. I don't know if she's considered like a celebrity, but he's had an interview with Tasha K., who's another person who's had a large following, who's brought him onto her show to talk about his life and his opinions and views on things. Hassan is jealous. Nobody ever compared the two. And I wanted to make this video because this is what I'm talking about. Even when you have somebody like a Hassan Campbell who calls out other celebrities who do things like this, who are jealous of other people, who are doing things, quote unquote, for the clout, people who do things like this, you got somebody like Hassan Campbell who calls out these people now doing it himself. Bro, we see right through it, bro. Kwame Brown never spoke on you. He may have seen your videos. He may have heard of you before, but the man never spoke on you. How do you come out in other videos constantly saying, don't compare me to no NBA player? Kwame don't respond. And then eventually Kwame Brown responds and says, Kwame Brown said in his response to Hassan, he said basically that Hassan was uplifting the drug culture and gang members, which Hassan did. That's what you did in your video, bro. And it's like, that was Hassan, that was Hassan's bait. Hassan threw it out there. Kwame Brown took the bait, and now Hassan is going to gain clout and attention off of Kwame Brown's viralness, or his moment of viralness, if you will. This is so disappointing to me, because what this makes me think about is like, is there any solution in the so-called Black community or any community, any, like the human race, when we doing stuff like this, jealousy and greed? Like, this is like, it's clear as day, bro. You were embarrassing yourself. Like, this is so disappointing, man. All the great work you put out on YouTube, all the great points, because yes, it's just YouTube. I think Hassan has done some things in the community before, but nonetheless, excuse me, your voice is power. You speaking things is still you can still make some sort of change by speaking up. Yes, other things should be done as well. But this right here just upset me so much, because I'm like, bro, what are we doing here, bro? We're supposed to be standing for unity and being kings and supporting one another. And you go out and do this, man? This is so disappointing. Nobody compared you, bro. You made that up in your head. You sat back, saw all the attention that this other man was getting, and also saw that he was talking on really important, real topics, and he was talking about them eloquently. He was raising great points, just like you do, and you were jealous. This is so disappointing, bro. I don't know. Anybody who sees this video, the point of this video, anybody who listens to this episode, the point of this episode is to say, please, there is enough money out here for everybody. There's enough attention out here for everybody. There's enough room and views, enough room out here for everybody to get views, bro. For you to come out and do something like this is so disappointing. Please, y'all, let's support one another. Let's be happy for one another. You should be happy, Hassan, that this man is speaking on great, important topics and trying to bring positivity into our community, bro. Instead, you take somebody who's doing literally the exact same thing you're doing and say that he's trying to be like you. He's talking like you in his videos. What are you talking about, bro? So disappointing, man. So disappointing. We got to find a way to come together. We can do better than this. It's the Ruling Class Podcast, man. It's your boy Didi. Again, if you're new to the podcast, if you're not new to the podcast and hadn't done it yet, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. Please hop in the comments and let me know what you think on this topic. If you're on one of the audio listening platforms, please subscribe to the podcast. Please check out some other episodes. We do speak on important topics over here as well. Thank you for your support, and we out. Peace.